Welcome back to the Maven Show. This is your host Rohit. Today we have Danielle, the Chief Everything Officer and fractional CEO. Thank you, Danielle, for getting into the show.
Thank you for having me.
So would you just like to give a quick intro of yourself first, how you got started and how everything is going?
Yeah, so how I got started was I worked in a bunch of digital agencies, communications, consulting firms, and had a really wonderful career that led directly to burnout. So I went to graduate school, and while I was in graduate school, I had an introduction to a couple of online influencers, and decided once I finished grad school, I wasn't going back to traditional corporate and ever again.
How to have a hard conversations with your team, like
Yeah, so I think especially as teams are more informal right now, or we're all working remotely, it's sort of a blend of relationships that can kind of be personal and professional. So I think it can be really hard to have hard conversations with people that you consider colleagues or friends when you have to run a business. But the reality is that in order for businesses to grow, and to really be successful, I think sometimes it takes having those hard conversations. So I always tell the CEOs that I work with, the first thing that we need to do is really diagnose whatever the problem is, take the emotion out of it, figure out what the core issue is, and then figure out a couple of options to solve for it. I think there's nothing wrong with being direct, as long as you're mindful of the people that you're working for and in having those conversations. So finding a common time that works for everybody, being face-to-face or virtually face-to-face, being available with specific examples and really leaving the emotion out of it, setting it up as a collaborative conversation, one rather than one that is seen as negative or aggressive or anything like that.
words do you have about like the best way to get the right people into the right seats into the business,
Yeah, I think it's understanding where your business is at and where the bottlenecks are in the business. You always want to assess the jobs that need to get done and then figure out, are the people that are doing them the best people to be doing them, or has that changed as the business has evolved? So it's constantly evolving. It's constantly analyzing the needs of the business against the team that you have in place.
Why every business should need the I.C.E Plan, and what does that mean and why it's important, you know what I mean?
Yeah, so an I.C.E Plan is I.C.E stands for in case of emergency. And every business and every household, I think, needs one. You never want to have one person that has all of the answers, right? Like I had a client who was on vacation. She had all the passwords. She knew who the website host was. She knew how to get in touch with, all of the people. But that's not the way for a business to grow or succeed, right? There needs to be a playbook that only the right people can get to the information. That's why I call it the I.C.E Plan. But not only is it there for emergency, but it's really there to free up CEOs so they're not the bottlenecks in their business.
What's the hidden key to business success,
Yeah, I think the key to it is building a legacy rather than building a high-paying salary, right? You want to build a business that is outside of who you are as an individual, really has a vision, has a clear purpose, knows who it serves. It's not about having the business collapse because one or multiple people of the team, aren't available or transition into something else. It's about building a sustainable, independent organization that will serve far greater than, any one person.
And how you would like to speak about this, like why operationalizing your values leads directly to sales, you know what I mean?
Yeah. So I would say that is it's critical for leaders to be able to not only identify their mission and values, but understand how to convey those to their team members, and also so the team members can embody them, right? We want the business to run in a really confident and consistent way so that customers understand exactly what they can expect every single time, and giving team members the power and the confidence to know how they need to perform, which aligns with the core values, is one of the best ways that we can do that.
You have personal redundance down. Like, what does that mean exactly?
Yeah, I think when a lot of entrepreneurs get into business, they just kind of keep doing the best things that they can, and they do a small fix here and a small fix there. But the reality is, in order to build a really scalable business, you need super stable business foundations. So taking the time with your legal, your finance, your team, your staffing, all of those things that are at the core of your business, and making sure they're super rock solid is going to be what allows the business to scale. If you kind of fake it or take shortcuts or say, I'll worry about that later, at some point it's going to catch up, and it's going to be, at a high risk to the business.
And what about the leaders, like what they should be focusing on?
Leadership within a company needs to be defining the mission and the values of the company. I think they need to be deciding what business the company is in and what business the company is not in, and being those figureheads and that person that's out front, being the spokesperson for the business. I think it's up to leadership to really separate themselves from all the things that they could be doing to the things that they have to be doing.
Do you think like CEO's responsibilities are easy to go?
No, I think it's super difficult to let go and let your team run with, the company that you've been building and that you've put so much money and time and heart into it. I think it's incredibly hard.
Any best tips you have or advice you have for anyone who is getting started with the business?
Just keep going. Just keep taking one step at a time, figuring out like what's one thing that I can be curious about, that I can learn about, that I can do today that's going to make an impact. And over time, all of those small steps, they add up to something really big, if you just keep going.
Do you believe like giving is the biggest part of each leader?
Yeah, I think that's hugely important.
Awesome, Danielle. Well, thanks for being into the show and having these insights rolling in. So we would probably love to have you into the next season or so. So yeah, thank you so much for having in. And
All right. I appreciate your time. Thank you.